That's why they call me bad company. I can't deny bad company.
All right, welcome to the W2W Review. I am the Oakland Knight, and joining me from the LA studios, as always, is the Raider Pirate. What's going on, Pirate?
What's going on, Raider Nation?
All right, Raider Nation, we got a different kind of show for you today a little bit. We're going to start off talking about something that is real sensitive throughout the Raider Nation. We put out a show yesterday where we had a couple of great guests. I want to thank them once again, Carolina Raider, as well as Stephen Michaels from the Raiders Daily, for coming on the show and sharing their information with us on what's going on with the Las Vegas Stadium talks and situation. It's heating up. Mark Davis is reported on heading over to Vegas. He should be there, I believe they say, by Friday, where he's supposed to be addressing the media and the city of Vegas, talking about the silver and black state, yada, yada, yada. And, just like we thought we would, we got a little bit of slack. We're getting a bit of slack from the interviews from yesterday's show, which me and Pirate talk all the time, and we knew that was going to be the case when we did it. But when you cover the Raiders, like we do, we cover the team, we cover the players, we preview the games, we talk about the game afterwards, and talk about what we saw, what our thoughts were, what we liked and didn't like. This is something that we've put on the shelf for quite a while. I mean, when we first started, we talked about it a lot, but we kind of put it on the shelf because at the time it seemed like it was just a bunch of politics. There's just a bunch of stuff going on. It was irrelevant to keep that fire burning when there was so much other stuff to talk about. But as of yesterday, or should I even say this week, with them passing the first set of votes that they needed to pass, heading into the second one they need to address within the next few days, and the fact that, the reports come in that Mark Davis is going to be jumping on a jet plane here and heading over to Las Vegas, we thought it was relevant news. And I still stand by that. It's relevant news. This is coming at a very bad time. It's a very touchy subject. And when you listen to the show yesterday, it wasn't me and Pirate's point of view. So we want to start off the show today with what our point of view is, where our stand is, and to let everybody know what we're trying to do here, what we're covering. We're reporting the news, okay? We're talking about it as it happens. We're reviewing it. We're talking about what we do know and some of the things maybe we don't know, but it's part of what we do. So in saying that, let's let it make it. I want to make it clear right now that I am a Bay Area native, okay? I was born in Fremont, lived up in Fremont for my first 5 years of my life. Then I moved to the Valley, back to what is considered the Silicon Valley. People consider it the Bay. I grew up in Gilroy, went to school in Gilroy. I've been a season ticket holder since 1995 when they came back. Grew up a Raider fan, followed them through the LA days, or beginning Oakland days, all that. So I do understand the significance of what it means, not only to be a Raider, but to be an Oakland Raider. And I do support them staying in Oakland, but there's a difference between wanting them to stay in Oakland and the fact of the matter is, are they going to be in Oakland? And that's what we addressed yesterday. Is that door finally closed? Is that what's really going on? It's our job, not only as a broadcast to cover the Raiders, but to speak on the facts, what we do know. And what we do know is that Vegas has been hot and heavy since the Carson deal fell through and Mark started this campaign. A lot of it was speculations at the beginning, how they're going to be able to do all this. Well, Vegas has found a way to do it. They're constantly, every week, every day, there's something coming out. They got this done. They figured out the land plot. They got exactly where they want to be now. There's been pictures and images put up through the internet of what the stadium is supposed to look like, how much money it's going to cost. Now they got it to the vote process. The list goes on and on and on. For us to sit here and ignore the fact that this is going to be a huge week in this movement, we would do ourselves an injustice as well as the Raider Nation. It should be talked about. Pirate, what are some of your thoughts on not only yesterday's show, but just in general, your thoughts of this whole situation?
Yeah, look, we understand that it's a difficult issue. It's something that a lot of people don't want to talk about. And it's unfortunate that we have to sit here and qualify. We come on, we talk Raider football, we know the football team. This is a great season. We evaluate draft picks, we talk about what's going on in the season, and yet you'll still be called out by certain individuals. Hey, you guys are, pro Vegas, you guys are pro LA, you guys are this, and that. And so that makes us have to come on here and qualify. I was born a Raider fan. I was married in silver and black. My wife wore a silver dress. I've been a Raider fan my entire life. My father was a Raider fan. My grandfather was buried in a silver and black casket with a silver and black rose wreath selection. I lived in Hayward, California for the majority of my life. I also lived in Fremont, spent a little bit of time in Berkeley, but I lived off of Tennyson Road for 25 years. So I relocated because of a job and because of my family and the things that I have to do. And that at the time I relocated to Los Angeles, the Raiders had just moved back to Oakland. So to say that we are biased in one way or another is just an unfortunate thing. And I don't think we're going to change anybody's mind, and that's okay. I don't care. If you think that we're biased, then that's your opinion. But to the other people that are out there, the people that call into our show, the people across the country that are wondering what's going on, what's happening with the Raiders, that's what we kind of set out to do. We set out to follow this football team and report on relevant facts, to review information, and to have the best family type of show that we possibly could. So I just want to kind of put it out there again. We're as big of Raider fans as anybody else, and we want the Raiders to stay in LA as much as anybody else. But we also report on a daily basis on the Raider News, the Bleacher Report, Chat Sports, Fansided, Cover 32. Everybody's reporting on this, and so are we. So we really do hope you guys don't take it in the wrong way, because we do understand, and our heart does go out to the people that are in Oakland. If this thing does in fact go through, we're just going to keep reporting on it. But again, what I want you guys to understand is we're not betting on the horse or betting against the horse. We don't have another horse in this race, or we're not betting on a particular horse in this race. What we're doing is we're covering the horse as it's making its way around the track. And now in the fifth furlong or whatever it is, we're simply reporting this guy's here, that guy's there. And that's really all we want to do. So to those of you that are emotionally invested in this, which is obvious, an obvious thing to be, we're not against you guys in any way. But again, to those people that just want to, throw names out there or say we're this or we're that, we're just going to report on what we see. We're not going to change your mind. You have a preconceived notion. You don't like our program. You don't like what we're doing, whatever it is. We're not going to change your mind. So we try not to let that, stop us from having a good night's sleep. We're just trying to do the absolute best job at this point, that we can.
Yeah, and with that said, it's, again, I'll make my stance. I've made it before many times, even last year when the whole Carson City thing was in play. I am essentially pro Oakland. Okay, everybody knows that. I don't shy away from it. I mean, my roots are there. I still have my grandfather that lives in Hayward. I have an aunt that lives in San Leandro. I have another aunt that lives in Hayward. I still invested into the Bay Area, okay? And I made the comment yesterday on Facebook that, the Raider Nation doesn't have a zip code. The Raider Nation doesn't. We all have our own personal area codes, and we all live in different cities around the world, and everybody's going to have a different type of an emotional investment into this situation, and we understand that, and we respect, and hey, we did it before. We've had multiple opinions on this show. We just don't keep it one-sided. We keep the door open, but we want facts. We want sources, and that's what we're trying to dig up. And regardless if people like the sources that we find, it's the sources that we're able to get at the moment. We're growing as a broadcast, and our job is to cover the Raiders. And part of covering the Raiders, unfortunately, is dealing with this situation, and it's coming at a bad time. We're 4-1. We're heading into a big divisional game, and we have to deal with this. But it's part of what the Raider Nation is. It's part of what we need to understand and dissect. And for months now, it was a lot of speculation, this and that. Can Vegas do this? Can Vegas spend the money? Vegas has been on the fast track, and we cannot sit here anymore and just ignore it. If this vote goes through and we just simply just put it on the shelf and continue to put it on the shelf until, Vegas comes out and Mark Davis comes out on Friday or Saturday and says, well, hey, this is a done deal. Now we just got to, it's a done deal for the city of Vegas. It's not a done deal for the Raiders. We brought that up yesterday. It still has to go through, the owners of the NFL. And as we talked about, if you listen to the whole show, that is talked about yesterday in the show. There's a lot of things that still have to be gone over. We don't know exactly where the NFL stands, but just from a personal level, I do get a good feeling that I know where Mark Davis obviously stands, and I obviously know where Libby Schaaf stands, because with all this information that continues to come out and all the process that Vegas continues to make, Oakland doesn't respond, not in the way that we want them to. We want them to stay in Oakland, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case unless this thing with Vegas falls apart, which is still always a possibility. Pirate, your final thoughts?
Yeah, and I think Stephen Michaels said too, there's a chance the NFL steps up, and buys the land and goes ahead and finances the stadium in order to keep Mark Davis, in Oakland. Some of the owners love the idea. Some of the owners aren't necessarily completely on board. So, we're going to see. But, once again, we just want people to know, when I hear things like that, the Raider Nation has no zip code. And then we get responses back. Yes, the zip code is the Bay Area. There's so many fans that are out there worldwide. There's fans that are living in different areas that had to move. And, it's not that we're saying that the Raiders should be playing everywhere. What we're saying is that the fan base, what Al Davis created, the dream, the vision, the goal was to have the best team, the best players, the best coaches. I would imagine that he wouldn't want them to be playing in a worn down, broke down. When he was alive, that was his wish. He wanted a brand new Coliseum. Oakland has to step up. This is the time. That's why we release these videos. Libby Schaaf, you have to step up at this point. If you want to keep the Raiders, if you really want to keep the Raiders, and it's not just a lot of rhetoric, you've got to step up, because like Knight said, Las Vegas is on a fast track. And right now, Mark Davis is on a fast track because of the things that Libby has not done, and because of some of the things, let's face it, some of the things that she has done, like negotiating with the A's, in between negotiating, with the Raiders and throwing that kind of wrench in there, and then not negotiating directly with Mark Davis. So our point is that there are people all around the world that are Raider Nation. We love the football team. And this, I think, is what Al Davis was trying to create, which is a brand that was nationwide, very much like America's team. Yes, Dallas is where they physically play, but they were called America's team in the 70s, right? Because people really liked that, and there were fans, all over the place. Now, I don't agree that they're America's team, but I'm just saying that is what it is. So, that's my point. Like we said, the next segment here, we're going to get right back into some good football and get off this particular topic, but we're still going to cover this thing. We got some more guests that are coming on. We're on the phone lines again today, talking to different people. And we won't post it in certain places, but we certainly will post it on our site as well as on our YouTube channel. So once again, go there if you do want. We got a lot of people that subscribed yesterday, which is great. Like we said, if you want to get this when it comes out, you are that portion of people that are looking for stadium information. Go subscribe, hit that little bell, and it'll notify you as soon as we drop out one of these types of videos.
Well said. And again, guys, I understand there's a whole nother side to this story and this issue, and it has to do with the infrastructure of Oakland itself, its schools, its businesses, its police department, fire department, hospitals, the whole 9 yards. There's a whole nother element to what goes on with this situation, and we don't ignore those facts. It's just not what we do here. We don't cover the city of Oakland, and that's the point we're making. We cover the Raiders, and this is big news, and as hurtful as it is to us, I've said it before, I'm a Raider fan first. I mean, I grew up in an era where I followed the Raiders in Oakland. I followed them in LA. I followed them back to Oakland. I've invested over 20 years of my money into this team and season tickets, the whole 9 yards. So, we are invested in this team in Oakland. We just have to recognize the fact that if this is the end of another run in Oakland, that we're willing to cover it. We're willing to talk about it and see where this goes, and as well as support it moving forward, because at the end of the day, I just choose, and this is a personal opinion and a final statement, I'm a Raider fan. I'm a Raider fan. I love my Raiders. As much as I want them to stay in Oakland, I will follow this team and support it and continue to cover the Raiders. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and like Pirate said, when we get back, we're going to actually get into some more football talk. We're actually going to talk about the team, what's coming up tonight, and what's coming up this weekend. All right, so stay tuned.
Carpets is celebrating the holidays with a huge inventory clearance sale. We have the best prices and guaranteed installation. Why would you buy anywhere else? Whether you're looking for laminate, vinyl, carpet, tile, or wood, we have it all. Save up to 50% on selected items. Room-size rugs, only $69. Visit Carpets at one of our 6 Bay Area locations or call us at 1-800-355-4MMM.
All right, welcome back to the W2W Review. I'm the Oaklandite, joined by the Raider Pirate. Now we're going to get back into actual football talk on the field, football talk. Tonight we have a matchup taking place in San Diego. It's the Denver Broncos heading into San Diego, another divisional rival game. This game has some good possible implications on the AFC West for us. If the Chargers come in there and show that they're the best 1-4 football team in the league, it opens the door for possibilities for us to take over the AFC West all by ourselves. Now, regardless if the Chargers win or the Chargers lose, whatever, as long as we handle our business, we're in control of our own destiny. That's the other good side of this. It really doesn't matter what happens tonight. It's just an opportunity for the Raiders for that door to be kicked open by the Chargers, nonetheless, to give us that divisional domination and have it be in real control of what happens in the AFC West moving forward. But by saying that, there's a lot of things that are going on with our football team just for being where we're at. We're 4-1. We got a divisional win against San Diego yesterday. We're hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, like I said, they handle their business. We're not going to lose any ground. That's the good thing. We just continue to move forward. But how do we get to this point? Pirate, there's a lot of things going on. Let's look at Reggie McKenzie, for example. I mean, this guy was virtually on the hot seat at one point before Jack Del Rio came in the building. What is your thoughts on where this team's at, the opportunities that are presenting itself this weekend, and just the way that Jack and Reggie has handled the roster to this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's really exciting. I mean, it's interesting, when Mark brought in Reggie, there was the transition between Al having passed away, and you kind of had that nastiness with Hugh Jackson going on and control issues and him trying to do a little bit too much and making moves that were hurting the franchise. And basically, Reggie brought him in and said, hey, here's the way it's going to be. And Hugh said, no, that's not the way it's going to be. There was a little bit of a chasm that happened, and boom, you're out, Hugh. Sorry, see ya. And the Raider Nation was so upset at that time because Hugh was a very good offensive mind, but he may not have been the best head coach. Now, fast forward that a few years later, and in comes Jack Del Rio. It's 2014, and this team is struggling, And so now, karmically, here it is. Jack Del Rio says, hey, we need to go out in the hallway and have a talk. If we can work together, we can work together. If we can't, you got to go. And Reggie basically was like, hey, yeah, obviously I can work with you guys, man. Let's do this. I want to keep going. I think, So if you look at those first couple of drafts, Reggie McKenzie, a lot of people say the players fell to Reggie McKenzie, but that's not true. People passed up on Derek Carr. People passed up on Khalil Mack. And that means that we could have passed up on those guys as well. We didn't. We selected those guys, and we kind of moved forward from there. And he had a couple of picks, in some later rounds. Some of those guys are gone. Some of those guys are contributing in some ways. But then you look at this last draft, and this is where it's really incredible. Nobody fell to Reggie McKenzie in this draft. Nobody fell. DJ Hayden's playing better in the slot, which was probably his worst pick up until this point. He only had the third-round pick on Bergstrom, but DJ Hayden, who's a first-round pick, he's playing at least better in the nickel now. It could have more of an improved role. You've got Khalil Mack, you've got Derek Carr, you've got Amari Cooper, and then some pieces like we talked about, Ellis, and a few different guys that you sprinkle here and there and say, okay, these guys are doing a good job. But in this particular draft, you're talking about every single player except for Connor Cook, who we were told right from the beginning, hey, this guy is just a trade piece. We've got our starting quarterback. He's either developmental, where we could sit him down, where he can learn from a guy like Derek Carr, and then go out there and play. Or we can trade him like we do, like we've done in Green Bay. But if you look at everybody else that he drafted in this draft, they have had significant time.
Yep.
And then you take a look at Richard, and you take a look at guys like even Kirkland, Latham. These guys have also played, pretty extensively at this point for rookies. At this point. I mean, right now, right. James. Undrafted, right? James, who was brought in as a special teams player, has been starting it at the middle linebacker position. So once again, I mean, I think this particular draft has given us so much depth, so much potential to do different things, and that's going to give us an opportunity to come in, young players sprinkled in with some really good veteran talent, to be able to come in here this week and to meet a team that swept us last year, and give us the opportunity to come in and to say, we learned from what happened, we got better, we're deeper, and now we're going to come and we're not only going to show the Kansas City Chiefs, but we are going to show the rest of the league that this is a playoff-bound football team.
And it's so amazing to really sit back and really think about this year's draft class. Like you said, Connor Cook being the only one, and like you said, he's a chess piece. He's a chess piece. Matt McGloin, to all you Matt McGloin supporters, I know there's a lot of you still out there. I mean, this guy has not really done what Matt Flynn has done for Green Bay back in the day. He has not done what Osweiler did for the Broncos last season. He's not what Matt Castle did for the Patriots or what Garoppolo has pulled off to start the season this year. He's not going to be in the conversations of those guys, or in those situations where when he becomes a free agent that he's just going to go out and get a job and get an Osweiler type contract. He's not that type of quarterback. I'm not saying he's a bad, horrible quarterback, but to me, he's going to be a career backup. That's just what I see from Matt McGloin on a personal opinion. But with Connor Cook is that guy to where if Matt McGloin chooses to go be a backup on another team, or maybe he does get an opportunity to start somewhere else, Connor Cook is a developmental piece that's going to be the backup next year. He's going to be the guy that has Derek Carr's back, and we got him locked up for 4 years. So, and then put the potential trade piece if he gets an opportunity like some of these other quarterbacks I mentioned. So it was a smart move by this organization, even though he's not contributing on the field. But like you said, there's everybody else is, from undrafted free agents to all the other rookies that we drafted. And it's just been incredible. A lot has been talked about Jack Del Rio saying, last year we learned how to compete. This year we're learning how to win. Well, we're learning how to win with like 11 or 12 contributing rookies on this football team. That's amazing. It makes us more dynamic. It gives us more depth. Heading into Kansas City, we're not the same team. We're a lot younger. We're a lot faster. It's going to be a different kind of game. And it also sets us up for the future. We've talked about it before the season start. What's going to happen with Derek Carr's contract, right? What's going to happen with Khalil Mack's contract? What's going to happen with Amari Cooper when he comes up? Those are three major contracts we got coming up. They're all playing well. They're all doing their job. We're going to have to open up the checkbook a little bit. Now you got all this young talent flowing in, developing. I mean, there's players that we're not even talking about right now. We're talking about guys like Kauser was one of the biggest names that we talked about that should return next year. So all these young pieces that are locked up for 4 years, is going to free up the money needed to get some of these other big players that we need to sign now taken care of. So the present is bright, the future is bright, and like Al Davis said, the brightness of the future, or the great is the flame that burns brightest, is the will to win. All right, guys. Pete Pirate, what can you tell us about your thoughts on guys like, maybe we just lost Orr off the practice squad, but give us a little bit more of what like guys like O'Malley and Vidal Alexander has brought to the table last week, and what they could actually possibly do this week against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, well, O'Malley didn't. They really didn't do much.
Right.
It was interesting. I was a little bit more confused about why they didn't use Rivera a little bit more. I mean, I think this offense could be so much more dynamic if you utilize the tight end that can get up the seam. So I was kind of shocked. I had said we didn't need Lee Smith. Basically you bring in another offensive tackle and line him up next to your right guard. And basically, you're going to get what you have in Lee Smith. And they did that. They did that a lot with Denver Kirkland in last week's game. But Alexander, I think, again, he's probably playing out of position. He probably shouldn't be starting at that right tackle position. He should be playing a little bit more on the interior. But his ability to go out there and to do that, again, is a great testament to Mike Tice. Like I said, when you look at this football team, it's really about depth at this position.
Right.
This would have derailed us a couple of years ago, losing 2 tight ends, losing a right tackle, having to shift the line around. I mean, it just really would have derailed us, losing your starting running back, those types of things, problems with the defense and not being able to fix that until deep into the season. So, again, the ability to bring in these young guys and have them play has really been phenomenal. The one thing that I could say that it's just a bit of a negative is if we hadn't have taken Connor Cook and used that 4th-round pick and the 5th-round pick, that's 2 more players potentially that we could have right now. We might have somebody like Andrew Billings, right, a big nose tackle that we potentially could have brought in, and then again perhaps another inside linebacker in the 5th round. But like you said, it is what it is. It's going to give us the opportunity either to have a guy that will be a backup and come in and be able to come off the bench and play, not this year, but
right.
In future years, or it will allow us to move up in the draft to get that player that we do want, because I seriously think that from this point on, we're not going to be drafting very early for the next 5, 6, 7 years. We're going to be drafting late, very, very late, so you can package your 1st-round pick with a guy like Connor Cook if you do find somebody that just really fits your scheme and you think is just going to be a lights-out type of player. In terms of Matt McGloin, like I said, where is he going to go? Teams could have came and gotten him. I just think that he's a player. He's got moxie. He's got grit. But to me, he reminds me of a Gary Kubiak. He reminds me of a guy that's going to sit behind John Elway for all 9 years of his career, a Jim Sorgi who's going to sit behind Peyton Manning. He reminds me of those types of players. He doesn't really remind me of a guy that you're saying he really needs his opportunity. He's limited in certain ways, and when teams can game plan for him, it hasn't been that good. So he's perfect in the position right now. Derek Carr is being protected. He's making the plays he needs to make, and if McGloin needs to come in for a half or even potentially for a game, I think it's great. He understands the offense. He understands the personnel. He's not a rookie. He started in this league. But I don't see him as being that guy that is going to demand, at the beginning of next year, he's hot on the free agent market and he's the first guy that teams are going to pick up. I just don't see it. So, who knows? But once again, like I said, the depth on this football team now, and when you look at it, you're talking about your wily veteran, and then right next to him, you got your brand new 1st-round stud, right? And then you've got tremendous leadership. You have so many guys that are trying to do things the right way. Guys like Derek Carr and Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper, even Michael Crabtree, who, everybody said everything, but the guy's come in and he's just produced. He's probably the best player on this football team right now. today, including Derek Carr. He is probably the most money player on this team because Derek Carr keeps throwing him the ball. So I would say it's a toss-up between the two of them. But, again, just doing the right thing and, it's just exciting. It's exciting. I'm looking at this game against Kansas City, and I feel really good about it. I really, really, really do. I think they're going to go in there, and I think they're going to do what they need to do and come out with a victory. And like I said, I think it's because we did have the patience. We went out, we got the right type of coach. We had the patience to sit with a guy that was a team builder. And I think you got to give a lot of credit to Mark Davis because he went out and he did all the things that everybody said the Raiders weren't doing. And he's built a winner. So, we're winning at this point. So we'll see at the end of the season whether it's a winner. But the talent is undeniable. I mean, now mainstream legacy media, everybody's talking about it.
Absolutely, and you brought up some great points there. When you look at this football team and its depth, I mean, we had depth. Look at the depth we had across the offensive line. It's just incredible. We've been a mess at right tackle, but we continue to fight and plug these different guys in, undrafted guys. And even though we don't fully understand it, it's working out. It was obvious last week that, Alexander struggled a lot. They put him in a tough situation, and he made Joey Bosa look like an all-pro. We'll see where that goes. We'll get another taste of that tonight against the Broncos. But at the end of the day, I mean, we got a guy like Austin Howard that, whether he's 100% or not, is going to be, looks like the starter on the right tackle. That's going to make us stronger this week. So there's a lot of things that we match up well against the Chiefs, guys. We really, really do. Does that mean we're going to blow them out? No. I mean, it might come down to another field goal type game. Kansas City is that type of football team. They're coming off a very tough win. They're coming up they have a head coach that's 15-2 when coming off the bye. So there's a lot of obstacles we got to get over. We have to fix some things defensively. But all in all, as a whole, there's a great opportunity here for us to rise up to the occasion and hold on to the top of the division, regardless of what happens tonight. But, make no mistake about it, the Chargers, in my opinion, I said it earlier this week, they are good enough to beat the Broncos. It's going to be a great matchup. I'm looking forward to actually watching that game and hopefully seeing the San Diego Chargers bounce back. If you guys remember, last year, the Chiefs went 0-5. And actually went on a run and almost took the division and made a wild card. So as much as we say the Chargers are buried, they've been playing well enough that they could possibly rebound. I don't see that being, the case in the full season, but I'm definitely supporting them to bounce back tonight and take care of some business for us. And then after that, it's all on our table, right? It's what we do. And that's what it should always be. Take care of our town business first, right? Week in and week out, we handle our business, then we're going to be okay. We're sitting in a very good position. All right, Raider Nation, we'd like to thank you for tuning in today. Once again, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at The Will to Win. You also can email us any questions and concerns at thewtw@gmail.com. And again, guys, we want you to remember that there's only one nation, the First Nation, Raider Nation. That's all that matters. And that's where I get my phrase, stay Raider strong. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
And that's why they call